Hello, I've got an article for you here today. Men Need Work in a Way Women Don't by Susan Venker. Hello and welcome to The Ordeal. If you're new to my channel, I challenge all things woke. If you want to support my channel, the best thing you do is share this material. Share it with as many people as possible so we can get the word out about how being woke is wrong. Because what does wokeness say? Wokeness says that if you're a man, if you're white, you're inherently evil. Those two things are just not true. So what does this article have to say here? Welcome to the year 2020. It's a little bit older, but I'm sure it's going to be pertinent to what's happening today. Welcome to the year 2020 when women now comprise the majority of the workforce. Of course they do. Let's take a look at this link here and see what it has to say. When women overtake men as majority in U.S. workforce, data reflect growth in services industries that employ higher numbers of women. Women held more U.S. jobs than men in December for the first time in nearly a decade, a development that likely reflects the future of American workforce. Of course it does, because, we don't need to have men working at all. That would make sense. The people who are bigger, stronger, more intelligent, they shouldn't be holding down jobs. We should just give it all to the people who should be raising the children. That makes a lot of sense. That seems like just the way things go. The share of women on payrolls, excluding frame workers and self-employed, exceeded the share of men in December for the first time since 2010. Labor Department data released Friday showed women held 50.04% of jobs last month, surpassing men on payrolls by 109,000. This country, I tell you. The jobs report strongly suggested that labor market dynamics are tilting in the direction of women, said Joe whatever, chief economist of RSM US. We often look for tangible evidence of change. It is now here in the data. Some will cheer this phenomenon as a boon for women and for society, but it is anything but. When men dominate the workforce, there's no negative effect on marriage and family formation. But unemployed and underemployed men have 0% chance of finding a wife. Yeah, that's probably true. I don't know about 0%, but the percentage is probably closer to 0 than it is to 1%. There are some crazy women out there who will date men who are just not economically viable. I knew a dude who he was homeless. Guy was homeless and he had a girlfriend. Don't know how that happened. She was not homeless. She had a job and she had a home, but she lived with her parents or whatever, so she couldn't have him live there with them. But still, it's like, you had a girlfriend? How'd you do that? We envision ourselves progressive when it comes to women and work. I don't. I'm very much conservative. Get back into the kitchen where you belong, raise the kids like you should. But women are still, and always will be, the sex that gets pregnant, right? Like I just said. As such, they know that if they want to have children and if they want the option of taking care of those children, if only for a few years, they need a competent working husband on whom they can rely. Women also aren't attracted to men who lack ambition or drive. A man doesn't need to be rich, but he needs to know where he's going and how he's going to get there. Now, I'm not a woman, so I can't tell you whether or not women are attracted to men who have ambition or drive or not. I don't know. I'm assuming that's probably true, but I really don't know. As far as needing a man to support them, yeah. I mean, somebody has to have the children, and somebody has to raise the children. Why would you have children if you don't want to raise them? The ideal situation is that parents have children, and then they raise those children. Now, one person is going to have to work, unless you have passive income. One person has to bring home the bacon. Women are better suited for raising children, both psychologically and physiologically. It's not rocket science. It's just kind of the basics of biology. We cannot reverse the sexes in this scenario and end up with the same result. A woman's employment status determines 0 of her physical attractiveness. The average man isn't looking for a woman who can support him, nor is his desire for her related to her level of ambition. So this attachment to work is very different from a woman's. Work is a man's identity, his means of being useful. Yes. Okay, I'm going to delve into this because this is actually really important. Women, yeah, if you have a job making $100,000 and you're gross looking and you have a bad attitude, I'm not interested in you. If you have a job making $20,000, $10,000, $5,000, but you look hot and you're nice, let's go out. That's really what it comes down to. And now men being useful. So a woman's value, biologically speaking, you're never going to get beyond biology. At least not right now. Maybe we can figure out something in the future. But right now, we're still beholden to biology. A woman's value a woman's ambition is having children. That's just how it is. I don't know what to tell you. Women have a drive to get pregnant and give birth. That is what their drive is. A man's drive is, yes, to impregnate a woman, but not. He doesn't know that going in, right? An animal doesn't go, hey, I have this urge to give a woman a baby. No, because like I have this urge, and it involves putting something inside of her, part of myself inside of her. And we evolved with this notion for millions of years, from little tiny rodents all the way up into humans. And then a man comes along and goes, well, somehow I have to survive long enough so that I can do this thing that I have a drive to do. Well, how do I survive long enough to do this thing? I got to get food. I got to get shelter. I got to defend myself from wild animals. So men became bigger and stronger. Women said, how do I survive long enough to get babies? I have to look pretty. That's really what it comes down to. Women have to look pretty. Men have to be strong, intelligent, have good endurance, and be capable enough of building things that will help them survive that, the scenarios of the natural world. This still happens today in Africa and other places where there are still tribes. The men have to go and figure out how to survive while the women are trying to figure out how to raise the children. It's well documented. It's not like this is a big mystery. Just seriously, you can look this stuff up and find it. That is why, until recently, men have always placed work at the center of their life goals. Yes, like I just said. To be clear, this is not an argument against women being in the workforce at all. It is merely to acknowledge that men and women aren't interchangeable. Thus, the outcomes will be different when we act as though they are. Men have an innate desire to protect and to provide for their families, but most women, unless they are single mothers, work for different reasons. For autonomy, for extra income, or because they believe that without work they aren't valuable. Not true, but you can thank feminists for that. That's for sure. Whatever the reason, it's not because they have a desire to support a husband, right? That's true. Women do not look for work to support their husband. They look for work for self-fulfillment. Men will look for work for self-fulfillment, but also to support their families. There's too many families out there that are like, the woman works, but it's just extra income, and it doesn't matter. And in fact, that's her money, and he has his money. Now, this is certainly not cut and dry. There's no black and white here. There's a lot of overlap. Both me and my wife work, and we're both basically financially dependent on each other. And there's other couples I know that are similar to that where the woman is the breadwinner. Gen X here, and I can say that I have worked my entire adult life full time and through college supported my unemployed husband when he was out of work and currently earn more than he does, and I hate it. Bitter is not a strong enough word for how I feel, writes Karen in the comment on the Wall Street Journal article about women in the workforce. Right, because it's a burden on her. She doesn't want that burden. Women want the burden of, hey, I'm keeping the home kept up and I am raising the children. That's the burden that they want. Let men go out and slay the dragon. Women don't want to do that. Imagine a husband writing the same thing. Gen X here, and I can say that I have worked my entire adult life full time and through college supported my unemployed wife when she was out of work and currently earned more than she does, and I hate it. Bitter is not a strong enough word for how I feel. Just typing that feels silly. It is a rare man who would say such a thing. Karen, on the other hand, is not unusual. It is a rare woman who works full-time and year-round for years and years and doesn't burn out or become resentful, particularly if she has children or wants children. The baby question is just one part of the early 30s milieu. There's a distinct loss of ambition, writes Brady, whatever. I don't know if that's a rare woman who's like that, because I've known a lot of women who they work full time, they have kids, they might even earn more than their husbands. So I don't know if it's a rare woman who feels that way. These women that I know, they stay married, they're happily married. They just view work as a necessary evil, I guess. So they don't really take it too personally when they are in that situation. There's a distinct loss of ambition for women. Men can burn out too, of course, but they don't typically fantasize about dropping out of the workforce or being unemployed. On the contrary, men are lost when they're not working. Male suicide has risen sharply, and much of it is due to unemployment or underemployment. Men need work in a way women do not. Thus, it makes more sense for men to have a leg up in the marketplace. I don't know. Maybe this article has the statistics and why the statistics are the way they are. It's not even bringing up that article, so whatever. In fact, everything froze for me. There he goes. All right. Understanding suicide. Maybe it tells you in this article. I don't know. I would say that the reason that men are committing self-deletion here at such a high rate is much more complicated than work. They're not saying it's only work. They're just saying that's a part of the puzzle. But I think it has to do with men being persistently told in one way or another in our society that they are useless and worthless. People need to have value. People need to feel valued. And when you have women saying, I don't need no man. I can make my own money. I don't need you. What did a man bring to the table before women were considered equal in employment status? Well, he brought money. What did women inherently have? A valuable thing that men will go to great lengths to get. They come pre-made with this thing. We all know what that is. You don't have to tell it to you. That's what men want. That's what we think about all day long. So women are never going to be valued at zero, period. Whereas men now are like, what do men do? Well, they do actually really important jobs that make the world function, but that's unseen and unfelt. So, I mean, if we got rid of men, yeah, you would notice. But as it is right now, people aren't noticing that men do actually the most important jobs in our society. At the end of the day, nothing good will come from men being displaced by women in the workforce. Thank you for saying that. This phenomenon has and will continue to create a sharp decline in marriage and family formation and will increase the likelihood of divorce and even death. That's not progressive. That's a regressive. Yes, it is. All right. Thanks for being on my side. I really do appreciate you being intelligent enough to understand this. And you being a female, because most women are like, oh, I need to have a job. You want to devalue me. Look, European women have always worked because there was always a lot of work to do to prepare for winter. And there was more work than the men could handle. So the women would step in and work. This has been going on for centuries. Women have worked in Europe because they had to. And it continues to this day that women work, even though actually, now they probably don't have to. Really, we could probably get away without having women work today, honestly. Now, if you're a woman and you want to work, okay, fine, work. But you should always put your family first. That's a woman's place, is to put her family first. Whereas a man's place is to put his work first. Because partly that's how men are built, but also it's because that's how you're going to get your family to have the things that they need financially. You can't just live on air alone, no matter what the breatharians say. You got to eat. You got to have shelter. Anyway, I hope you appreciated this. If you did, please drop a like down below. Leave a comment. Let me know what I'm doing good. Let me know what I'm doing bad. Again, share the video. Click the notification bell. And I will see you all next time.